and tweet. Wait, where are we at? And hold on, we go straight. And oh, looks like we're starting now. So,
We're live.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adit Mahmood, and with my normal co-host Hunter. And today we're going to be talking about some MLB news. We're going to recap the first couple weeks of Major League Baseball, and then we're going to talk a little NFL, and then some Virginia Tech. So let's start with
Special Saturday episode. So we haven't done this before. Came back. Obviously, I'm very tan. I came back from a vacation. So, but we'll be back to regular Fridays next Friday. But yes, as for the Nationals, monster win last night. Max Scherzer. I don't know if you saw, he passed Cy Young for the most strikeouts ever for pitchers. Well, I mean, climbed up the list for most strikeouts ever for a pitcher. I believe he's now 21st all time. So congrats to Max. He's one of the best to ever do it. Went 7 scoreless. And then Kyle Schwarber had a beautiful 463-foot home run to walk it off in the 9th. So he's been nice since he came off the COVID list. It looks like their COVID problems are all but done now. They are struggling a bit this year. Patrick Corbin is not himself. Steven Strasburg, don't really know what was up with him in his last start. You know, it looked like he was a bit hurt. He downplayed it, but we'll see what happens there. Now that the big hitters are back, they're actually hitting fairly efficiently. Josh Harrison, I think, is 9 for his last 13 with like a home run and 2 doubles. He's been great. Josh Bell has been fine. Kyle Schwarber, like I said, has been great. I mean, they started off slow. A lot of it has been due to COVID and some pitching struggles, but I think they should be okay. The NL East is not particularly that good this year, which is nice. I mean, there's a couple teams that are a bit above 500. The Nats, I think, are 4-6, 4-7. But still, that was a big win to walk off the Diamondbacks last night. Good to see some fans back in the stands. And, Joe Ross has been really good with his first start. I think his first 2 starts hasn't allowed a run. His strikeout to walk ratio is really freaking good. You know, he's really left off where he pitched during 2019. And even before that, he looks like a completely different pitcher this year. And if he can continue to pitch like that in that number 4, number 5 role, they should be fine. I think John Lester is going to be coming back in the next week. They wanted, I think, to get up to 5 to 6 innings where he can pitch. Right now, they said he can only pitch 3 to 4. So he's not all the way back yet from his stuff. But most of the team is getting healthy, aside from COVID stuff. But hopefully they should be okay. I need to look up who's pitching today. So let me.
I can check that right now. I
have the MLB app. It is Eric Fede. I don't even know. Yeah, Fede. I don't really like him that much. I've never really liked him. He's just.
Wasn't he like a first-round pick a few years ago?
Yeah, he's a placeholder until Lester comes back. He'll probably go to the bullpen.
You guys, Lester.
They're not that good. This is a 4-game series. They did take 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, who are a good team. They got blown out in the 1 loss, so I don't really know what game that was. But in the other 2, great pitching and some really big runs. Juan Soto, he's left off where he was last year. He's going to get a massive contract. I love him, man. I always will love Juan Soto. And then, so today's Fede, and then tomorrow Strasburg goes for I think his 3rd start of the season. And then actually, do the Diamondbacks have a different Bumgarner, or is that Madison Bumgarner?
I think that's Madison Bumgarner. I think that once he got the contract.
I had no idea. Okay, why did I not know he left the Giants? That's so weird.
Because he hasn't done crap since he hasn't done anything since he signed with them.
He's 11.2 this year.
Yeah. No, but what I was about to say was with Strasburg. I mean, Strasburg does have an injury history, and the Nationals did pay him a ton of money, so it's a little concerning. With Corbin, I'm looking at his numbers. I mean, this is his 3rd year with the contract.
Corbin, this is his 3rd or 4th.
Okay, because there was a 6-year 140.
Yeah, I think this might be his 3rd year. I think you're right.
Yeah, so I mean, 3.25 ERA in 2019.
He's just really struggling this year. I don't know what's wrong with him, but this is not Patrick Corbin that I remember when they signed him away. It's just his fastball has dipped, his velocity's not there, and even going back to Strasburg, people were like, "Well, there's no problem with him." I'm like, his fastball was 3 miles per hour below his average, and he was hardly using it in his last start. He was using his changeup and his curveball. When Strasburg's on, as anyone knows that has watched him and saw what he did in the World Series and in the playoffs, his fastball destroys pitchers. His fastball destroys hitters. So when he's hardly using it, you know something is up. And he downplayed it. The manager downplayed it. That's ridiculous. There's something I think is bothering him. It looks like he still is full head go tomorrow, but I'm going to be watching that closely to see how his fastball was.
Wasn't there like a calf injury or something that he was?
Yeah, he was a little banged up, came back, seemed fine in his first start, pitched well, and then the last start, don't really know what was going on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then with Max Scherzer, the one point I do want to bring up with Scherzer, I think it's a guarantee he gets 3,000 strikeouts in his career. I think it's a guarantee.
I think to pass Mussina, I think he's like 8 strikeouts away from him. He's going to break that probably the next game.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you think? Because I know his contract ends after this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe his contract is up after this year or next year. I think it's this one though.
And I think that he might go to another team. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to another team because the Nationals are still probably going to pay him anyway because that contract, I think it was like it was a 7-year deal, but it's really more like a 14-year deal with some because like he gets like it was because it's insanely backloaded. But
there's a lot of referrals. And I was looking at the most strikeouts of all time. Yeah, he's going to pass Mussina. Then it's Mickey Lolich at 20. He's going to pass him this year. Then it's Jim Bunning, who's at 28.55. He'll pass him. And then Verlander's next up at 3,013. So I think he'll get to 3,000 deep by the time this screw's over.
I mean, because you're saying he's at what 2,800 right now, so he's about,
and he needs about almost he needs 2,000 more to pass to get to Verlander at 18. He'll crack the top 20 by the time his career is over.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that he will get to 3,000. It all depends on how much longer does he want to play.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you this as an Orioles fan, we're not going to go and get big name free agents, but if Max Scherzer wants to sign like a 1-year, 2-year deal after this contract, and then him in that Orioles rotation, I mean, he would be a great veteran leader, like for guys like John Means, Dean Kremer, Bruce Zimmerman. Like, imagine what type of
he can still pitch very well. This is still one of the best pitchers in the National League.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what insight he could give to those guys.
Oh yeah,
especially like John Means. Like, so I mean, he's definitely someone that's going to be a free agent that teams are going to want next year. Like, even though he is going to be 36 years old, like 35, 36. But I mean, that could lead us right in. I think that's the only question I have with the Nationals. So I think
it's early. People are already saying, man, they're going to trade Scherzer at the deadline. I'm like, guys, the Braves are also 6-8 right now. So are they going to trade everyone at their deadline too? It's very early. The team is still recovering from COVID stuff. They're still getting some players back.
I could see him. I could see the Braves trading Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
I could.
Was basically just let's give it like another month and a half. Let's see how they do. Like, they just had a nice series win against the Cardinals. They're so far split with the Diamondbacks. They have 2 more this weekend, both 1:00 starts. Let's relax, people. It's okay.
Right, and surprisingly, yeah, you're right. It's only 14 games, but on the other hand, you have the Orioles, who actually have a slightly better record. Which
are the Orioles good this year? My column.
Here's what I'll say. They're not the worst team. Like,
you're better than the Yankees. That's the start you want.
Yeah, no, but I mean, they're because think about it, we played 6 games against the Red Sox, 3 against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and 4 against the Mariners in a really weird, like, it was 2 double headers because there was like every other game, like 2 days were rained out, so it was like 2 double headers. And as we beat the Rangers yesterday, so. It's a tough. Like, we started off tough. I mean, I was getting annoyed a little bit because, like, remember last year it was like all the East teams were playing each other, And then with the Orioles, it was like the last 6 games of the 2019 season was against American League East, and then the entire 2020 was against the American League East or NL East, and then the first 9 games this year were against the American League East. I'm like, can we just please play a team in the Central or West divisions? Like I'm getting sick and tired of having to play these division games. But they're good. I mean, pitching wise, the rundown of the pitching is John Means is good.
Yeah.
I mean, like yeah, John Means is good. Let's see, Matt Harvey hasn't been bad. Like Matt Harvey, like
that's a shocker right there, man. Not gonna lie.
I mean, he's given up. I think it was like I don't think he's given up more than 3 runs in a start, and he's been going like 2 of them are 4 2/3. The other was like 5 2/3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's pitching well enough that if a team like Atlanta or Washington or Houston, they need like a fifth starter or a long reliever for a playoff run, that the Orioles could get back like the 25th best prospect for Matt Harvey, which when they signed him, that's probably what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Third starter is Bruce Zimmerman. I mean, he's been impressive. He doesn't have high velocity, and you could definitely tell like he's a guy that relies a lot more on control.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 starts against the Red Sox, 3 runs in 6 innings, and then last start was against the Mariners, 2 runs in 5, but that was like a 7-inning doubleheader. So that's more so like pitching like 7 innings. So he's been decent. Control problems are definitely a thing for him. Like if he doesn't get strike 1 or strike 2, like his stuff definitely does become more hittable. Jorge Lopez, a placeholder. I mean, I know he had a nice start. He had a no-hitter going to the 5th inning. But he's more so of a placeholder. Maybe he's a late reliever, like a long reliever, sorry, in the future. And then Dean Kremer has been disappointing, but then again, the guy only had 4 starts last year. He really hasn't pitched in too much in AAA. I mean, the fact of the matter is that because of the pandemic, they had no minor league season, and you had a bunch of guys who lost a year of development. So some of these guys are developing at the major league level. So that's kind of an interesting aspect with the Orioles. Bullpen wise, Adam Plutko, he's actually been somewhat decent. That was definitely a baffling decision for him, for the Orioles to go after him, because he really wasn't doing much, but he hasn't been bad. I mean, the Rule 5 guys haven't been awful. Rule 5 guys haven't been bad. I mean, I know Max Caroller had control issues against the Red Sox in that one game, but then again, everyone but except Paul Fry gave a home run to the Red Sox. That was just not a good game for pitching. Offensively, no. And then closing, I'm not the biggest Cesar Valdez fan. I know that having a 36, I understand his journey. Like he was going to the Mexican League, he was in the majors, he was in the Mexican League, he was in all these other places, but there's a reason why closers have high velocity. The fact that this guy, he pretty much just throws like a changeup in like 3 or 4 different ways and averages like 70 to 84 miles an hour. I think you would agree with me saying that that's not like a good closer. That's not what you think of a closer.
No, it's not.
No, but I mean, he could be playing himself as a trade piece. I think what they're really doing is hoping that Tanner Scott develops his control a little bit more because, man, Tanner Scott, he has control issues. Like in the past, he's getting better at it, but a lefty with a fastball that can hit 100 miles an hour with a slider that can go and then if he throws the fastball for strikes, which he had an issue with his last appearance, he has a slider at 90, 91. I mean, that's just straight unfair. Like if you're preparing for a fastball near triple digits and then he can throw a backdoor slider. I mean, that's just unfair. I mean, hopefully he's your long-term closer. I know that fans like the Orioles have high hopes for Hunter Harvey, but at this point, he's just a walking injury machine at this point because he just gets hurt a ton.
Yeah.
Offensively, this team strikes out way too much. It's like they either are really patient because they have a tendency to score few runs in like 1 or 2 innings per game, and then their bats go cold for like a large majority of it. So that's definitely young players. It's definitely with young players. It's a young team, so that's to be expected. But if they can just be a little bit more patient and don't be so cocky, because I think that's one of the issues they have is they think that they can be aggressive and swing at anything at some points, but they strike out too much. I mean, there were some games against the Mariners where they lost. I think it was 1 out of 4. They lost 3 out of 4. They could have easily won 1 or 2 of those games, but they were like in runners in scoring position. They were striking out. They were trying to hit home run a little too much. Uh, so they can calm down on that one. They'll be fine. I mean, Trey Mancini is definitely trying to do too much because I think he's batting like 170, but it could also be that he's trying to show like he's doing too much to show that he's still the same player he was in 2019. And then I mean, and the other guys like Mountcastle, he's been good. I mean, Cedric Mullins has been incredible.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Cedric Mullins has been incredible because I think he's batting like 403, 404 right now.
Jeez, that's a small sample, but that's still really good.
I mean, like, what are your thoughts? Like, based on like the limited sample size of Cedric Mullins, like Mullins, and like, what do you think of his performance so far?
He's been good. You know, I haven't like watched obviously a lot of Orioles games since like they're not my team, but you know, I see the highlights on Twitter. You know, his swing is really nice if you watch it, and you know he's doing great. You know, I honestly compare it to like the start with Josh Harrison because he's batting like 400 right now too, basically. And jeez, my dog is just being stupid. And you know that's what we're dealing with for today's content. You know, Saturdays are a lot different. But you know, it just looks like you know both players are off to hot starts. So and like both swings are just really nice as well. So I'd be curious to see if he can continue it as they play more games, hopefully outside of the AL East.
Oh yeah, I mean, like with Mullins, there's no way he's going to continue at this pace. But the fact is, he's not meant to be the main person. Like you still have Santander, you still have Trey Mancini, you still got Mountcastle. Severino can get hot here and there.
Just keep talking. Just 1 second. Keep talking.
Yeah, no problem. Rio Ruiz actually has been pretty good. So Cedric Mullins, if you can hit like 250, 270 with a good on base with good defense and speed, then he can then that's all you need him for. But good thing is that DJ Stewart can get on base. I mean, going back to my point about how like people are swinging out of their shoes, like DJ Stewart is your number 3 guy because he's really your batting. He's only batting third because everyone else is like swinging out of their shoes right now. So like they accept Mullins, accept some of these other guys, and he's patient. Michael Franco, he's actually been good. I mean, he's at 12 RBI.
Former Philly right there. I forgot you guys had him.
And then we also have another former Philly, Freddie Galvis. He's been
him too. Yep.
Yes, I mean, so you have guys who are good. I mean, we'll see how they progress. I mean, unlike the Nationals, I think the Nationals actually have aspirations of like winning the World Series.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, the Orioles, it's more so of can like the veteran guys like a Matt Harvey or Galvis or Franco or Plutko or a guy like even like Sean Armstrong or Paul Fry or Valdez, can they build enough trade value that you could flip them for prospects and then you bring in some of the guys you have right now?
Yeah.
We'll see. And I think so the wins and losses for me don't concern me. As long as they play hard. And you know how if you're rebuilding a team is like pretty much like they don't care. Like if the team doesn't show that, then they're fine. But if they show like we're really trying to develop, that's fine. So I guess we'll move on to the next one, which is Ravens and Steelers. I don't think there was much for the Steelers.
The Steelers, they did bring back Vince Williams. That was nice to see. He's like that ultimate Steeler. It was kind of weird when they released him, but then they found some their media members. I mean, I
Mark
do.
Madden, I know you're talking. I know Mark Madden's really bad.
Yeah, I work in media, and stuff. As you know, obviously. Yeah. But some people are just so bad at their jobs that they just have no idea what they're talking about. Like, wow, pretty bad day for the people that thought Vince Williams, signing Juju Smith-Schuster costed them Vince Williams and Tyson Alualu. They both re-signed. It's just like, you people have no idea how the Pittsburgh Steelers operate and how good they are at managing the cap. Omar Khan is just a wizard there, like his freaking math in his mind and everything. So the people that think they know the Steelers organization, you don't. Stop talking about it like you do. It's just really frustrating. But it's still great to see them bring him back just because now inside linebacker is not really that much of a need. The draft now isn't it? It's 2 weeks now, right? Or is it next weekend?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay, I thought it was next weekend, but it might be 2 weeks. Okay, I was just curious. So that's coming up. I think they're probably still going to go running back at 24. I'd love if they went Najee Harris. I do not want them to draft Travis Etienne there. I like him. Is he a first-round running back? No, he is not. I get why people want them to go offensive line. I wouldn't mind it. I would want them to draft a center, but Harris is a game breaker. So there's also another take I saw this week. Well, if you draft Najee Harris this year, you're going to be a top 10 draft team next year. Where are these? I just laugh at some of these people that talk about the Steelers, man, just because when have they ever been utterly garbage under Mike Tomlin? Make for what Mike Tomlin, if you will. I criticize him a lot at times, and I still think he's a great coach, but people just, like I said, man, people really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the Steelers. Great that they re-signed Vince. There was rumors that they were going to re-sign Avery Williamson. That's not going to happen. They have three. They have a nice 3 rotation there. Spillane, Williams, and Devin Bush is coming back. So
didn't they trade? Wasn't he the guy from the Jets they traded for?
Yeah, gave a late round pick for him. There was rumors he was going to come back, and they weren't going to re-sign with Vince, which would have made sense, but it's not going to happen.
Who was the guy that I think it was a guard or something that said that they were doing a trade? I think it was a Reddit user or someone from social media.
Yeah, someone from Reddit, and I think it actually happened. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, see at that. Let me just add this banner. This is mainly for Ravens fans. And let me explain. This was a bigger news, but let me explain this. Hold on. Let me just here. This is a message for all Ravens fans. Let me explain this, okay? So we are looking for pass rush help. So we actually had Justin Houston for a visit. Mm-hmm. So we had the pass rusher who was with the Chiefs, and so I'm going to bring up and this kind of has annoyed me about some Ravens fans out there that are saying because here's the thing, since he wasn't cut, you would have to give up a 4th-round comp pick for him. Okay? So a lot of Ravens fans are saying, why are the Ravens so concerned about their comp picks? So people need to realize that comp picks could be used to trade for players, to move up in the draft, to trade for players. They can be used at worst for depth. And people have pretty much said, well, give up that 4th round, which I'll be fine with, honestly, because we have the 3rd round for Cole and we have Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown trades, we can move up if we need to. But I've seen fans say, give up the comp picks. What have we used? Who have we taken with those comp picks? Let's see. Sam Cook, he's good. He was a comp pick. Ryan Jensen.
He's been pretty good for a while, is what he has been.
Ryan Jensen. Nick Boyle. No. Let's see who else. Bradley Bozeman. Did I say Rick Wagner?
You did not, but
no. Rick Wagner. Kyle Juszczyk. He was a comp pick.
Yep.
Um, John Urschel was decent. Brent Urban, when he was healthy, he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mentioned Ryan Jensen. By the way, a lot of Ravens fans, they wanted the Ravens to re-sign Ryan Jensen, and then so it's really they have they've so it's like it's really interesting seeing how it's like like give up the comp pick, like who have we picked with those picks that actually have had value? Well, you guys like Sam Cook. Well, he was a comp pick. You guys like Ryan. You guys wanted the Ravens to keep Ryan Jensen. He was a comp pick. Like they have used, and not just comp pick, but like the third, fourth, fifth round. I think the Ravens and the Steelers as well. They've been really good at like mining talent in that early day 3 range.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why they're so competitive and winning.
Yeah.
And
Steelers, I mean, remember, like Vince Williams, like was a 6th round pick. Like I think that was a comp pick they took him with, actually.
right, and I think that a lot of people, and I think we could kind of talk about the news I just remembered with the Browns, which was Jadeveon Clowney.
1 year, 10 million. That's right, correct? Was it 10 million?
Yeah. Oh no, up to 10 million.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Of course they signed him because of course they did, and then they cut Sheldon Richardson, I think was what it was. What are your thoughts on that move for Cleveland?
I think that I know he was the number 1 overall pick, and he's been disappointing. He's a good run stuffer, but he's not a good pass rusher. And he also gets hurt a ton. So first of all, I was frankly surprised he signed because I haven't heard directly, but I've heard rumors that he's not the biggest fan of training camp, so I was shocked that he signed this early. But I don't know if this makes the Browns Super Bowl favorites. It doesn't do anything like that for them because Browns fans need to remember this guy played with J.J. Watt was in Houston.
Oh yeah.
And what were his numbers? Not great. Like in pass rush wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, if you pair him with Myles Garrett, it's like, okay, let me ask you a question. Who's better, Myles Garrett right now or J.J. Watt, like that 2014 to 2016, 17 range?
J.J. Watt, obviously.
Yeah, so, I mean, if he couldn't produce with Watt on the other side, like, be a little disappointed with Jadeveon Clowney. I'm happy as the Ravens didn't go after him because that would have been too much. 10 million is a little too much. I mean, I would have preferred a Ryan Kerrigan or a Justin Houston. And let's also keep in mind, going back to the comp pick thing, the Ravens are probably not going to sign anyone until May 3rd. But what they can do is they can say, okay, here, we like you. We think you will fit. We'll give you like a 2-year, $15 million deal, but we will finalize it after the draft. So the question then becomes, like a gentleman's agreement, like a handshake agreement?
Yes.
So I think that if you don't see Justin Houston signing a deal with the Colts or Texans or another team that might be interested, or Titans, chances are the Ravens and Justin Houston reached a handshake agreement. So if you don't hear noise about the Justin Houston and you don't see the Ravens getting like 2 pass rushers, it probably means they have a handshake agreement that they'll just finalize. They'll just announce it after the draft, and it's not. And to me, like, and this kind of goes back to the question, and we'll kind of end the NFL thing because we kind of did talk about the Mac Jones thing a couple weeks ago. I think we both agree. But before we do that, what are your thoughts with the comp picks and then signing players, like the handshake agreement, and like when do you agree to when will you give up what situation would you give up those comp picks, and what situations would you keep those comp picks and go for the handshake agreement?
I mean, I think you keep the comp picks, like if you're not gonna like pay them, right? Like the Steelers have been gaining comp picks for so many years just because they never have cap space to pay the players. I think they gained like 2 or 3 this year, and they gained one from Le'Veon Bell, I think, when he walked. So like but also I understand they could have gotten a comp pick, I think, from Juju. I think they would have, but they still had cap space to sign him, and he wanted to come back. So that's an instance where you don't give it up, right? And then, like I said, for others, like Le'Veon Bell and, Antonio Brown, I think they got a comp pick for him. Someone who's locked from cancer, that's when you get those comp picks, when you can't afford to have someone anymore. And then you can have your handshake agreement with someone else after. I think that makes the most sense. It's mainly just like, what's your salary cap situation?
Yeah, and for me, it's depending on the timing. And for example, like Ryan Kerrigan, we haven't heard his market, right? So it's not. So it's like one of those situations where it's like if the Ravens like Ryan Kerrigan, and he's still a good pass rusher, like he might be a situational guy, but Ryan Kerrigan is still pretty good. Like you could get him on like 1 year, $5 million, and that could be a massive steal for whoever gets him. But to me, it depends on the timing until the draft, the need, your salary cap situation, and also the markets. Like with a guy like Ryan Kerrigan or like Justin Houston, like if the market really isn't there and you're not competing against other teams and the comp picks are just an extra pick you can move around if you need to, why not attempt to get the player and keep the comp pick? Because you're just really benefiting your team. Now, if there's a situation where if we lose, there's like the Colts are interested, the Texans are interested, the Titans are interested, the Bengals are interested in like Justin Houston, and all of them want to sign deals, and there's no other pass rusher, there's no Ryan Kerrigan, it's either Houston or Melvin Ingram, or Houston, or a better example, Houston or Olivier Vernon. Then it's like, okay, cool, then we'll give up the comp pick because the alternate solution there isn't good. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, now you got Arden Key, who was cut by the Raiders. And Maurice Hurst. So you still got Kerrigan, you still got Ingram. I haven't seen the market go on those guys that high. It's only 2 weeks until the draft. I definitely see I would be all for the Ravens getting doing the handshake agreement because they don't really need to. Like it's like with the Orioles. Like who are they competing against for Chris Davis's contract? No one.
No one. Yeah.
And then look what happened. They paid him all that money when they didn't have to. So like with
bad move.
Yeah. So with the comp picks, to me, that's what I would look at with comp picks, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation that you're in, and also how good you are at developing your mid-round picks. Like the Ravens are fantastic. Like Zadarius Smith, mid-round pick.
Steelers are too. They're just as good as you guys are.
Oh yeah. Judon, like mid-round pick, like a 5th-round pick is Matt Judon.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so it really depends on that situation. And the fact of the matter is, and Ravens fans need to understand this: you're about to pay Lamar Jackson $40 million. You're about to pay Mark Andrews $13, $14, $15 million. Hollywood Brown, how much are you going to pay him? Bradley Bozeman, how much are you going to pay him? You want those extra picks because you want basically what you want is if you have a contract like a big contract here, you want a bunch of smaller contracts to balance out the increase in pay that you're giving someone else. So stockpiling those picks is a good way, and it's also beneficial. The Ravens are actually generally good at this stuff. Steelers are as well. It just ticks me off that I think you get it as well because there's probably Steelers fans that are saying, why don't we do more? But it's like, well, we don't have to do more because we can go with 40% of the effort that other teams approach free agency and still be better than them.
Exactly. Yeah. There's just a bunch of idiots. And yeah, I mean, there's our segue into the next little segment before we do the VT stuff and wrap up. Yeah. Mac Jones to the 49ers, please. I mean, I don't know if you've been reading this as well. Why is Justin Fields being mocked like all the way down to like 9 or 10? He is a top 3 pick, bar none, case closed. The fact that there are a lot of rumors that say Mac Jones can be going to the 49ers at number 3 is pathetic. He is not a top 3 quarterback. You will screw your you also, if you're looking at it, 49ers, F49 ERS, Edit. Gosh, get it right. I'm just messing around mainly, but he just forgot the E there. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, you will screw your future if you take Mac Jones at 3. Maybe that's an old takes exposed quote. Maybe I'll get Colin Coward here or something like that. But the way I see it, with my opinion right now, I don't get that. You take Justin Fields if he's there, and he is going to be there. Zach Wilson's going at number 2. We all know where Trevor Lawrence is going. Zach Wilson's going at 2. Now the main mystery is at 3, and it shouldn't be a mystery. It should be Justin Fields. So,
well, I mean, yeah. Well, I think Field. No, I mean, I think the top 5 is going to be really interesting because obviously Lawrence is 1, Zach Wilson is 2. Let's see. Well, I think that it's Fields or Mac Jones at 3, Pitts, Sewell, or whoever the quarterback, whoever they or Fields at 4. I think you could put Jamar Chase at 5 to the Bengals. I think that's pretty much a done deal.
mm-hmm.
They might say they are interested in Sewell, but I think that with Burrow, they're going to go ahead and say, well, you're already good with um, you're already good with the what is it? Shit. Okay, never mind. You're already good with with Jamar Chase from college. So I could definitely see them going after Jamar Chase there. So it's gonna be really interesting. Trey Lance, I don't think he gets past the Panthers. I don't think he gets past the Panthers. I mean, so it's gonna be really interesting. And I think
he's going round 1. There's no doubt he is.
And then and then Mac Jones, I would be surprised if he goes past the Patriots. That's the Patriots pick.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep.
But to me, like going back to the Mac Jones thing, here's my big issue with the 49ers picking Mac Jones. I understand Mac Jones was in Alabama. You have Steve Sarkisian, who is the offensive coordinator there. And I know Sarkisian was with Shanahan when Shanahan was with the Falcons. Here's the issue: did they win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan? No.
Came close.
Came close. They blew a ninth inning. They blew they blew the same.
Blew a 7-run inning in the bottom of the 9th.
Pretty much. Yeah. Did Kyle Shanahan win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Came close, but no.
But you just said they came close again.
Yep.
Mac Jones, he's more similar to those two guys. So the first 2 guys, you came close to winning a Super Bowl, but you didn't win one.
Nope.
What makes you different that Mac Jones is going to get you to a Super Bowl? And
Justin Fields could be that guy. That's the thing.
And then not only that, you gave up 2 future first-round picks.
Yep.
So you're not so Mac Jones is not worth 3 first-round picks. I'm sorry. I know he had a great year. I know that he's probably your safer decision. He's the safest decision. And what's his name? Orlovsky, he did a complete heel turn with Mac Jones because I remember watching an Alabama game saying, oh, I wouldn't pick him in the first round. Like this year, I wouldn't pick him in the first round because he didn't have mobility. Now he's raving about Mac Jones, saying how he's he's a great decision maker. I just did you see NFL Live last couple days? I think a couple days ago, but it was like Ryan Clark was just like this. Like he was just going oh my god, him and Marcus Spears you were shaking their head why would you do this to go after Mac Jones? They still don't believe Mac Jones to the 49ers is what they're doing at this moment. I think it's Fields. It has to be Fields. He has more mobility.
Yeah.
Than Mac Jones. He could be a good decision maker. I know Ohio State I know that the track record of Ohio State quarterbacks to the NFL is not good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Alabama's track record of quarterbacks to the NFL, not much better.
Nope, not at all. Except Tua. Let's just say that.
We'll see about Tua, but yeah, I know what you mean. But so that's gonna be really interesting, and then we can move on to Virginia Tech. The baseball team is actually doing a lot better now because
I know they lost last night, but they're a top 20 team and they're leading the Coastal Division, leading up to I think the ACC tournament or NCAA tournament soon.
Yeah, so I mean, just they're just playing with so much fun. It's just the hammer thing is just great.
Yeah, and people will hate it, but I love it. It's so great. And John Shea, he's done a great job with that program to really build it up to where it is now.
I mean, 10 home runs. I think they had 10 home runs last week, like
Mm.
last weekend in like Georgia in against Wake Forest. I mean, Gavin Cross, he was on Pat was it Packer and Durham on
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
network,
right.
and then basically one of those guys said, "Man, I'm happy that those Virginia Tech baseball players aren't here because it was like home runs galore." And like he had like relatives like living in that area. He's like, "I'm glad those Hokie baseball players aren't here anymore because now we're safe."
Yeah. They're fun to watch, though. I hope they really make a nice run at this, to be honest with you, man. But they did. Georgia Tech did beat them last night. I think they crushed them pretty bad. And Georgia Tech is a good. Yeah, they're a good team, though. So we'll see if Tech can bounce back. This is a big series.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, Virginia Tech has never been known for baseball. I mean, it's great seeing them doing this. Like, if they can become a powerhouse, I mean, I think it's great that UVA was known as a good baseball school,
Mhm.
but UVA, I'll double check where ACC where they are in ACC baseball right now. But Virginia Tech is better in baseball right now than UVA, and UVA is much. Oh no, this is great.
Well,
So in the ACC, Virginia Tech is 14-8, and they have a 19-11 record. UVA is 9-13 in the ACC and a 17-15.
hate to see that.
But yeah, you're right. Georgia Tech is second right now.
Yeah, that's why the series is so huge.
But I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, for once, I think we'll see Virginia Tech make it into it's not what was it make it to Omaha. Well, let's see if they make it to Omaha and see how well they do because they really could emerge. So we'll end with a recruit that Virginia Tech had, uh, and that is Alex Orji, the dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, that was a nice commit. Hopefully, it's the start of a lot more coming. I think I was on Tech Scoop the other week, and I think Gunnar Gibbons is going to be committing in the next few weeks, which is going to boost, I think, the state in a big way for commits this class.
Yeah, because right now I'm checking. I mean, Harrison St. Germain right now is the only in-state recruit, like a three-star tight end. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether Devin Farrell still keeps his commitment at some point because you got two dual threat quarterbacks. I mean, granted, you're about to lose Braxton Burmeister after this year,
Yes.
and then and how confident are you in Knox Kadum?
Not at all. Literally not at all.
And then we don't know about the guy from New Jersey, Taj Bullock. So I mean, yeah, so we don't know about so it's gonna be really interesting to see that. Uh, but yeah, you're right. Like we'll see if Gunnar Givens. Well, we'll see if Gunnar Givens commits
Yeah,
soon.
I think it's almost a lock. He should be.
Well, here's the question: does he keep his commitment?
I think he would. He's in their backyard. I mean, he literally is not even an hour away from the school. You have to keep that commitment. Come on. And he's a top 5 recruit in the state. So,
I mean, I think what's going to be really interesting to see is if Clemson or some of these bigger schools they stock up on linemen because that's the only way I see Gunner not keeping his commitment. But I hope he keeps his commitment. He's definitely a big time recruit. I think there's Ramon Brown. I think he's announced a visit coming up pretty soon. So hopefully we can go and get one of those. Hopefully we can be successful. I mean, hopefully we've seen enough running backs from the Virginia region go to other Big 10, Big 12 schools, fail. Fail. Maybe now we're starting to see them reconsider their initial hesitancy going to a place like Virginia Tech. So maybe that's the case. I know there's a safety that a lot of fans want that I don't think is going to make it. That's not going to commit, like Coville or something.
yeah, I read on the Terror Domes. It's close. They don't know for sure just yet.
But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't expect any major commitment. I mean, other than Gibbons, like I don't expect too many major commitments right now. Maybe until like June or July, we should start to see more.
Mm.
All I'm hoping is that you can get people to commit right now. Can you keep them? That's my bigger question. So that's why whenever I see these guys commit, I'm like, okay, cool. Just I care about when they sign on the dotted paper.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you.
I that's all I care about. If they sign on the dotted paper, cool. Right now it's a verbal agreement. Verbal agreements can change all the time. So that's why if I appear not so excited about these guys, that's the reason. I don't want to get my hopes up that
Sorry.
that we will keep them.
Yeah.
That's all. So it's not don't like if you're listening, don't take my like lack of excitement as I don't think these guys as good as we'll I think both of us have seen guys commit and then decommit later on.
Yes, it happens all the time.
So I think we'll end the show there. We'll have our newest episode next Friday in the afternoon, unless one of us is busy with something. But we should have another episode coming up next week.
Yes, we should. And I'll see you then.
All right, see you.